Good morning, marvellous people of Facebook. How are we? I constantly faff with my fringe, and because this is back to front, it bothers me because I'm going like that to try and get that side. See, I can't do it. Hang on. There we go. How are we? It's Monday. Can you believe it? Another week gone. Another however many hours of however many minutes of our lives gone. Anyway, good morning. Drop me a hey in the comments if you're watching live, and let me just give you some introductions if you don't know who I am. So I'm live this morning in my Facebook group, and also this morning and this morning only on my Facebook page. I'll tell you a little bit about what's going to happen for the first day of the Great Big Unstoppable Marble Run Challenge, which I'll tell you a little bit about in a minute. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Heidi Maver. I'm the founder of AUDIT Matters. We work supporting families, parents and carers of children and young people who experience barriers to attendance and who may need extra support secured through an EHCP. I'm a trauma-informed practitioner, a mental health first aider, a parent professional. My own son was out of school he's just coming up the stairs. I apologise in advance if he comes in, for almost 2 years. And after we came out of the trauma of that, here he is. Good morning. Hi.
The house we looked at.
Yeah. I'm live on Facebook. I'm doing my challenge day one.
For how long?
Quick yes or no.
Yes.
Possible. Right. You can tell me after this. I'll be 15 minutes.
Okay, we're going to walk there to tell you what.
Okay, cool. See you in a bit. We're a neurodivergent household, as you can see. After Theo was out of crisis.
We're house searching, so go on the marble run thing.
That's what we're doing, Theo. I'm trying to do the marble run. I'm trying to do day one.
It.
Yeah, that's what I'm literally doing now.
We need money. Go join it.
Get out.
Buy books.
Buy books. Doesn't know what I'm doing. So, oh my Christ, I'm so sorry. If you're joining me for the marble run this week, this is what you can expect. A lot of this. We're a 3 neurodivergent adult household with 2 or 3 dogs, depending on what day of the week it is. And it's always a little bit crazy here. And I decided a long time ago that I'll show up in the way that I can and do what I can. And I'm not going to wait to be perfect. And I'm not going to wait to not be neurodivergent, because that's never going to happen. So here we go, warts and all. So I do work through AUDIT Matters, supporting families who are like ours, who have children or young people in their homes who can't access education. We have an education otherwise than a school package for 12 months. And now I help other people with knowing what that could look like for them. So, hello. I'm also the writer, the author of Your Child Is Not Broken, which is a Sunday Times best-selling book. You can get it on Amazon and in all good bookshops. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about why we're doing this. Couple of reasons. Full disclosure, I'm doing it to improve my engagement into my community so that you can see what I've got coming in the autumn. So if you would like to jump on one of my programs, you can do so. There's no expectation. The next 5 days we'll be together, and I'll be offering you free content for 5 days that you can engage with or not, as you choose. I'm not the boss of you. But what I've done together for this week is put you together a little challenge that by the end of the week should help you get your shit together, basically. Now, I can't promise any miracles. And from one autistic ADHDer to another, perhaps, do what you can, take what is helpful. Please don't give yourself a hard time. This is not intended to be another stick you can beat yourself with. This is intended to be helpful to you. You can come back to it. You can revisit it. You can ignore it. All completely valid. I'm not the boss of you. Also, time isn't real. Do what works for you and your family, okay? So, for the next 5 days, I'll be live with you here. If you sign up for my challenge reminders, I will pop you updates link in the comments. Go through this link on the challenge updates link that I've just popped in the comments, and you will be able to sign up for a list, and we will send you a replay every day. So if you miss me live, you'll get a replay in your inbox. Today's will be a little bit longer because I'm going to explain how the challenge works, but the remainder I intend to keep to 20 minutes, half an hour max, depending on how squirrely I get. And the idea is that this gives you a task a day or a task every 3 weeks. You do it at your own speed to help you work out where you and your family are and what support you need and what the gaps in your knowledge and your skills are for heading into the summer holidays, perhaps to prepare for the new term in September. That's the intention. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about the challenge, and then I'll talk to you about today's task. So the challenge itself is, as I've said, 5 days, 5 live sessions over 5 days. I'm not sure if I can share screen. I think I've tried this before and I don't think it will let me. So I'm not going to do it because, am I? Let me see. See, I say I'm not gonna, and then I try, and then we'll see. Let's see. Here we go. This might let me. Ah, can you see that, everyone? Can everyone see that? Yeah, you can. Amazing. Oh, I love it when a plan comes together. So this is the challenge page that if you go over to the page, but I just wanted to show you what we're doing. Okay, so Monday to Friday this week, each day I'll take you through a mini life and household audit. Today's is barriers. Stick with me. We'll do that in a minute. It's intended to be a week of tasks to help you get your ducks in a row. So today's barriers, tomorrow's needs, then provision, then priorities, then skills. I'll explain a little bit about why we're doing it that way in just a second. Okay, we'll finish with a free workshop on Sunday. So if you sign up for the mailing list to receive reminders, everyone who signs up to that mailing list will also go into a draw. Okay, full disclosure, this is me building my mailing list. I'm not going to hide anything from you. But in that draw, I'll have 5 runners-up who will each win a challenge goodie bag. You'll get a signed copy of the first edition of my best-selling book. There are no more of these in circulation apart from people who are selling them second-hand. So you'll get a signed copy of the first edition. You'll get a bag of marbles. You'll get some rubber ducks to put in a row. And I'll give you a voucher for a webinar off my website as well. And then on top of that, one person will be selected to win all of that. Plus, you'll get a one-to-one Zoom call with me, a strategy call, or a support call, however you want to use it, for an hour together. We can dig into whatever you need, or you can ask me particular questions. And I'll also send you a marble run for your home. So that's what's going to happen this week. Make sure you get your name on my list. Make sure that you've joined the mailing list so that you get those updates. I will continue to post it, and I will be live in my Facebook group to talk to you about what's happening. Okay, so don't worry, I will keep you right. And if you get stuck, just ask. Sounds like just what we need. Excellent. Good to know. Good to know. Okay, so if you're watching this live, give me a hey, hey, hey in the comments. If you're watching it on replay, give me a hey, replay. That's me building the algorithm, just for full disclosure. And I'm going to give you 3 seconds to press the angry react button. That's also very good for the algorithm, but only do it for 3 seconds starting now. Otherwise, I will have a massive RSD attack and I will go off this call and cry. Okay, cool. People are seeing and hearing me. Let's dig in then. Let's dig into day one. So when I start working with families, I often, whether that's in a group setting or one-to-one, people come to me and they're where we were 3 years ago. They are on their knees and they don't know where to start, right? And often what I found when I first started doing support calls, and I don't do support calls anymore unless I'm giving them away or they're for one of my high need clients or whatever. But anyway, when I used to do a lot of support calls, people would come on calls and they would be so overwhelmed and so just exhausted and battered that they couldn't even think straight. So I put together this audit, and it's what I take people through when I'm working on them with them one-on-one. So I'm going to share it with you over the next 5 days, and it's really to help you get a bit of perspective and work out what your priorities are going to be. Okay, so today's audit is going to be a barriers audit. I want to frame this by just explaining where we're coming at from this, okay? Because it's really important for me and my work that you understand that my approach to working with families of neurodivergent kids and neurodivergent adults is that we adopt the social model of disability, not the medical model. So the medical model of disability says disabled people are faulty and deficient, and disabled people need to change to fit into society, and it's our disability that is in essence the most disabling part of our lives. Now, I'm not saying that being disabled is not disabling. Of course it bloody is. And the social model, and actually the medical model focuses more on things like medication, for example. Again, there's nothing wrong with medication. But the social model of disability says that actually with the correct support, many disabilities can be mitigated or the impact of them can be reduced for disabled people. So, for example, the social model of disability would say The disabled person doesn't need to change. The environment needs to change. The disabled child doesn't need to be less autistic in school. We need to be more accommodating for their needs and more supportive and scaffolding them better for them to be in a school environment. So I always take the social approach to disability because I myself am a disabled adult. I do not consider disability a dirty word. And if you've read my book, you'll know why. And if you're having a bit of trouble with that, I get it. I was there too. Come with me, or just ditch that bit of information, shelve it for later under look at my own internalized ableism. Stay with me, okay? But it's really important that when we understand that we're talking about barriers, we are talking about external barriers, okay? Now, of course, by our very nature as disabled people, there are parts of our disability that are barriers in and of themselves. But what I'm looking at with you over the next week is what have we got in our environment, in our situations that actually presents a barrier to us or our family or our children progressing, thriving, being able to access things. So I'm going to take you through step by step what the barriers are. It might be helpful for you to have a pen and paper. You can watch this on replay if you like. I will also send an email out following this with some prompts, and I will pop a link in my group. If you're not already in my group, come and get in my group because that's where I'm going to be doing this challenge for the next 5 days. Have I got a link to my group? This could be it. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I should just check which link that is. Does someone want to click that and tell me if that's my EOTAS Matters group? Might be, might not be. I think it is. Anyways, I will be in the group for this all week. Okay, so let's start with barriers. I'll pop a link in the group for the group as well. When we're talking about barriers, sounds like an obvious thing to say, but we're talking about anything that stops us from getting somewhere, okay? I like to think of it, I'm a person who likes analogies. I like to think of it as a closed gate or the closed water freeway on a lock system. It's something that stops something that could, without that barrier being there, pass through relatively easily, okay? So we're going to look at what those different barriers might be. Grab yourself a piece of paper and a pen. Either just make a note, yes, we've got these barriers, or if you can be more detailed, then make a note of that and I'll talk you through it all. So the first thing we're going to look at is what barriers do you have in your home to school or education? Don't make this about your child and your child's presentation. Make it about the place that they're trying to access or the thing that they're trying to access, okay? So for example, I mean, you can just put school, right? But for example, I know, and you might not know all of this, but for example, I know that my child's barriers to school were sensory, okay? So his end of that was that he had a sensory difference, and school's end of that was that it wasn't a sensory safe environment for him, okay? So you're just thinking about what do you know, and you might not know it all, but what do you know now are the barriers to your child or young person accessing school or education. So that could be that perhaps you're already at home and you've got a child at home, but the barrier might be that they're in burnout. Okay, so maybe they can't come out of their bedroom. Maybe they, maybe another barrier could be that their sleep pattern is disturbed. They're on a different circadian rhythm. And so they're sleeping in the day and awake at night. Maybe one of the other barriers to school or education could be the relationship that you have with your school or college. It could be that you've got a twat of a Senko, been there, done that, t-shirts in the wash. You know, it could be any number of these things, but I want you to think about what are the barriers that your family currently have to school or education. If you don't know, but you just know that you're not able to access school or education, just write down school and education tick. We'll revisit it later. Don't worry. All we're trying to do is get it out of your head and onto a piece of paper so that you know what you're dealing with. That's the first one. What barriers do you have to school and education? What barriers do your family have to school and education? Could even be things like finance. Could be that for many of us, actually getting our schools and young children, young people to college is challenging because we don't have transport, we don't have access to a vehicle, we don't have bus fares, whatever it might be. Could be personal circumstances. Could be that, for example, one of the adults in the home has, you know, a disability of their own, a health challenge of their own, and that is a difficulty. That means that that's a barrier to education. Anything and everything that you can think of. If you can't think of anything, just write school/education, big tick if you know that it's a barrier or if they know there are barriers. Okay, that's number one, school and education. Number two, social engagement and community access. Do you have, or do your family have, or does your young person or your child have barriers to them being able to engage socially in a way they want to? Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to have best friends. Not everyone's social engagement has to look like the neuronormative idea of social engagement. But for example, I have a child who doesn't do friendships in the neurotypical way and does want friends and did want friends when he was out of school. Okay, the barrier was that he wasn't able to leave our home, and you're not thinking about why necessarily. I know why. I know it was anxiety, but I know he couldn't leave the house, and that was a barrier to social engagement. Okay, also being able to get out of the car and go into places was also a barrier for community access. So we would go to things that he wanted to go to, and when we got there, he couldn't get out of the car. The barrier was being able to get out of the car. All right, does that make sense? I'm just going to check the comments and make sure that this is making sense to people. Someone's saying, this is just what I need. The LA have agreed in EHC needs assessment for the first time, so need to get together what I need to make sure they agree to issue one. You're in the right place. Okay, excellent. Just let me know if this is making sense. Am I going too quickly? Is this okay? Just affirm the shit out of me to make sure that I know that we're all on the same page. Okay. Yes, it makes sense. This Facebook user is speaking on behalf of the whole community. Excellent. Completely. Brill. Okay, so at least 2 people understand what I'm saying. I'll take that. We'll go with that. So, yeah, so your second header is social engagement and community access. Okay, brilliant. So first one is education. Second one is social engagement and community access. So make some notes. What do you have barriers under those headings? Okay, people are good. Excellent. I'm so glad. All right, so we've done school and education, we've done social engagement and community access. Let's talk about physical health services. Okay, so mental health I've got under a separate header, but this is things like therapy, i.e. occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, whatever kind of therapies your child might need for their sensory system or their physical needs. Physiotherapy would come under this. Also being able to access the doctor's surgery or hospital appointments. What barriers do you, your young person or your family experience to accessing health services? What are the things that get in your way to being able to engage with those health services? Now, it could be that one of the barriers is a waiting list or not being able to get a referral. They're barriers, okay? But other barriers could be things like your child can't handle health environments, your child has needle phobia, you have a needle phobia, you have a hospital phobia like me. It could be any of those things, right? So your next header is health services. What barriers do you as a family have to accessing health services? I don't know if this is a comment in relation to health services, but they have pulled EOTAS, won't take advice from professionals or us. So if you feel that that is a barrier to accessing health services, then pop that under that header. This will feel like you are making a big list of problems. We're only on day 1, okay? Please stick with me, right? I promise this is not going to be a week of you feeling like absolute crap about how difficult things are. That's not what we're here for. But in order to work out what you're going to do, you've got to know where you're at, right? And for me, I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what I had to look at first. And that's what this is about, okay? So we've done education. We've done social engagement and community access. We've done health therapy. Let's talk about the next one. The next barrier is massive for lots of us. Mental health support for your child or young person. What are the barriers to your child or young person being able to access suitable mental health support? That could be as simple as they can't engage at all. It could be that the things that you've been offered are not neurodivergent affirming. It could be, for example, that a referral is taken forever. You keep getting refused if you're under a CAMS service. It could be that you know what kind of therapy or mental health support your child or young person needs, but you are not in a position to access it because it's only available privately and there isn't a pathway for you locally. It could even be that you have accessed mental health support, it hasn't been suitable for them, and now there's no way forward for you, or you feel there's no way forward for you. It could even be that you don't know what kind of support they need. That is also a barrier. For all of these headers, a barrier can be, I don't really know what we need and I don't really know how to get it. That's a barrier. Okay, we're going to cover that more on day 5 when we're going to look at skills and information. So what are the barriers to your family, your child, your young person in particular, accessing mental health support. People affirming the shit out of me. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is a valid point. What support? There's none available, waitlist after waitlist. So your barriers are insufficient services and waiting lists. Okay, now I'm not going to be able to give you a solution to insufficient services and waiting lists, but we are going to work together on what we can do whilst we're on their waiting lists, and how we're going to find other means of supporting ourselves whilst we're waiting for the services to get better. I am not under any illusion that our mental health services, particularly for our children and young people, are in the toilet. Okay, been there, done that. Okay, I am with you 100%. I am not here to sugarcoat that shit. It's a freaking jungle out there, and we work with what we've got. Okay, so stick with me for the rest of the week and we'll work through this together. Okay, so could a barrier be an eating disorder service refusing treatment as young person won't get weighed? Yes. So the barrier is the service refusing the treatment because of the refusal to get weighed. That's one barrier. I guess another barrier could be the barriers to your child being able to be weighed. And I'm guessing another barrier could be between you and the professionals, them understanding what and why being weighed is not a work for them. I'm guessing your kid's a PDA, all right? Yeah. Beth, that's exactly what I wrote. I don't know what he needs and I don't know how to get it. You're in the right place. Don't worry. Okay. I mean, I would say I'm surprised about that eating services thing, but I'm not. Mental health is huge for my boys. Universal services don't work. Exactly. So this is why we need to, and this is some of the stuff that you will already know. And forgive me if you're like, well, this is fairly obvious. Getting it down on paper in one place, I think, can be helpful for lots of us. My daughter can't engage with anyone, so I feel like I'm writing the same barriers in each section. She has PDA and is in burnout. That's fine, Catherine. If that is your circumstance, that's the barrier you're facing currently. So your barrier is that she's PDA and she's in burnout. And also think about what the barrier is at the other end. The barrier at the other end is that services are not adaptable enough to enable her to engage. Okay. And she's in burnout, right? I know, right? After a year on the waiting list too. Yeah. Cams have refused us, even though he said he'd rather be dead than go to school. My love, I'm so sorry. We've been there. Buckinghamshire LA do not recognise PDA. I know. Many don't. But they're not. PDA is not fairy. Just because you don't believe in it doesn't mean it ceases to exist. We're not talking about the Holy Spirit or Jesus Christ here. It's not a question of faith. And when we talk about, we won't do this in this challenge, but when we talk about presentation and, we talk about people like, oh, we don't recognize that diagnosis, then don't talk about the diagnosis, talk about the presentation. The reasonable adjustments needed for that child's disability are there regardless of what the diagnosis is. Let's just see. Abby's ADHD referral keeps getting bounced back. So that's your barrier, being able to access that referral. Son is at home. Ped referring to CAM psychiatrist in 6 months on the support waiting list. His school trauma needs alternate provision, needs access to something. ASD, PDA. I hope you are finding this helpful and not even more overwhelming. Stick with me if you can. Okay. The last one. No, is that the last one? Oh, no, it's not. Silly me. I missed the biggest. What are the barriers to you accessing support for yourself? Okay. Now that support could look like, this is key, right? This is the missing piece for so many families. Okay. I have conversations with parents on the daily that say, I am an intelligent, articulate, organized, badass parent, and I should be able to do this, and I can't because it's just too difficult. I feel so overwhelmed. I feel so traumatized by the experience. I'm triggered by every single email I get from any professional. I just want to smash people in the face with my laptop. I'm constantly in tears. I'm not eating. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not sleeping. Okay. All very common. And it's probably the biggest miss for many of the services. They're not seeing that in the middle of this, we've got parents who are on their knees trying to hold it together and are really struggling. And so it doesn't matter if you understand the law and you know how to get an EHCP and you know how to go through tribunal and you know how to make a complaint and you know how to practically and you know what the law says. And because in the middle of it, we've got an exhausted adult who cannot and is not functioning. Okay, so this is really important for you. What are the barriers currently to you being able to access the support that you need in order to do your job, which is advocating for your kids, holding your shit together, or not, but at least functioning on a level beyond being unconscious and in bed for 5 weeks, which is what happened to me when I was in deep trauma and overwhelm. Let's just quit looking. Oh, thank you, Delina. Delina, what a pretty name. Pickering, that's my favourite place in Yorkshire. Let's just see what people are saying. So feed me back. What are the barriers to you getting support for you? So for me, one of the things was I couldn't see clearly. I had so much going on. I felt like I didn't have time to just stop and think, shit, what do I need? And it drove me into the ground. I couldn't see clearly. I couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate. I was in burnout. I was in overwhelm. I was in mental health crisis, and I didn't have that support. I didn't have people to speak to. Nobody understood. I was ashamed that I couldn't get my child to go to school. I was embarrassed. I was worried. I was at one point suicidal. So what are the barriers to you being able to get the support that you need? Maybe you don't have family nearby. I don't have family nearby. I have a boyfriend who is amazing. And if it wasn't for him, I probably would not be here. But I don't have family who live nearby. And I know many of us don't have partners. I'm not married to Theo's dad anymore, but I'm a single parent in that respect. So have a think about what is the barrier to you having the support that you need. Okay, let's just have a quick look at some of these comments. A barrier. He doesn't realize how bad his mental health is. Very common experience. Beth, I hope you've got that on your list. Can't put into the wait list for the right therapy because the list is closed because the therapist is off sick. Okay, so resources at the other end is a barrier. A waiting list is a barrier for you. Fee accusations throw any form of support out of the window. That is extremely difficult. So the barrier for you is the fear or the very real threat of faking inducing illness accusations. Because schools in LA send you mad. Indeed, they do. I have nothing, no support. Family struggles to understand. Clearly, my husband is ADHD. Yes. And that is probably going to be the trickiest bit of this process for you, is how do you build a circle of support around yourself to make sure that you are taken care of and that you are understanding your own needs and finding a way to get those needs met, or at least to be able to regulate sufficiently to continue. It's a big miss. It's a big miss. And it's one of the things that I'm really, really passionate about helping people with. Oh, Beth, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you cry. That's exactly how I feel every day. My daughter, who is in burnout, actually opened up to Cams and told them about her suicidal thoughts. Cams told me we needn't worry as she doesn't leave the house without me. Oh, okay. People don't end their own lives in their own homes, obviously. Holy shit. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. One of the things that could be a barrier to you accessing support is that you don't know who to ask or how to ask or who to speak to, or that you've become so disengaged from services that you're just thinking, I'm not even going to go and see the GP. There's no point. Or you literally don't have time. Yeah, especially if you've got other children or more than one neurodivergent child. I feel like I'm my own biggest barrier. Exactly what you're saying is what I'm feeling. I can't seem to be able to admit that I can't fix it. Yeah, that's big, Catherine. Do you know what it is? You don't have to fix it, right? I'm not going to pretend to you that we can magic away all of our difficulties. We can't. That would be disingenuous for me to say that. What we can do is find ways to make decisions that are healthy for us. So we can find ways to decide what does and doesn't serve us. We can find ways to decide what our boundaries are. We can find ways to feel more confident saying no. We can find ways to turn down the volume on our inner critic. We can find ways to understand our own regulatory systems better and to understand when we're triggered and how to manage that. We can find ways to prioritize our own self-care. None of it will be perfect. And I am not going to bullshit any of you and say that by the end of our time together, you'll know exactly what you're doing, and you'll be booked in for a spa day on Saturday and the kids will be off like with Mary Poppins or something. That's not going to happen. Let's be realistic here. And you deserve a thriving, fruitful, fulfilled life filled with love, and your kids and your nearest and dearest and your partners deserve the same. You deserve that. And it's not because you're a good person. It's because everybody, every human being, it's a basic human right to feel fulfilled and to feel supported and to not feel alone. And that's why I do the work that I do. Don't let me get started. I'll be here all morning and I'll start crying. Okay. I feel like I'm going crazy and have been made to feel delusional. So that's a barrier. Yes. So you're being triggered and you're being gaslit. Gaslighting is a massive barrier. Too many forms, also a huge barrier, especially if you've got difficulties with literacy. Exhaustion is just me and my child 24/7. There's no respite. We won't sleep. No brain. My brain no longer functions. I struggle to form coherent sentences. In meetings, I just cry. I have been there, Kate. I'm sending you so much love. We reached out to social care, child in need, and they discharged us because the boys wouldn't engage. 10 months of child in need and no support whatsoever. Our system's fucked. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not here to justify what the system does. I'm here to help you feel a little less alone. That's what I'm hoping this will do for us this week together. My biggest barrier is that I have 2 different points in process who can't access. Oh, yeah, you've got 2 kids in different points in the process who can't access, and no one takes into account that I can't just sit in a school building with one and not help the other. Aha. Yeah. All professionals are linked in some way inside and outside of their job role. It's all corrupt. I'm being told I'm doing the right things, but we're not getting anywhere. We're all exhausted and we're all in survival mode. With my daughter at home, it's impossible to make phone calls or do anything constructive, especially if it involves talking about her. Yeah, I remember being in that phase as well. I do remember that very clearly. He would get so triggered. I don't know who I trust anymore. Yeah. My barriers are I have 2 children needing me 24/7, and it's a really hard place to be. It is. It is. And we have many families here who are multiple children families. I have no one to look after my children when I need a rest. Very clear barrier. Pride, tiredness, my health, time to do things. Yeah. Can't get off the wheel of seeking help fit my child. Yes. Yes. That hypervigilance, that feeling like I can't stop. If I stop, nothing will happen. Yeah. Too many forms. Every child needs a 50-page form to move one step forward. Absolutely. Okay. Let's just see if other people have got things to share. I'm going to share what people are saying. The LA gaslight you and tell you don't need support, make you fill out a form and then reject you. That burnout and overwhelm is where I'm finding myself sliding now. You fight so hard for your kids and forget you're a person. Yeah. Well into this journey, but I so need this still to regroup with where we are and move forward. And that's what this is about this morning. And I want to hold space for you to voice these frustrations, because it's really important that we don't pretend that things aren't really hard, because only by naming them and identifying what's going on can we actually find a plan. You can't get in a car and set off driving if you haven't put the destination you sat nav. Well, some people can apparently, but I can't. I just don't know where to start. That's a barrier for sure. I want to spend time with my child, spend all of my time being stressed and not with her, constantly fighting, sending emails. No one else can pick up things, get overwhelming. It's all on you and the system is against you. Yeah. Yeah. Early support visit, close the case because they can't help her at school. Single parent, no family support. My barrier is not understanding the law. Okay, when we get to day 5, Leah, I think you're going to find it really helpful in terms of thinking about your next steps. I'm too exhausted to think about myself. All the existing support is while I'm at work. I don't have a car. I can't afford a car. No family or support nearby. Lack of money. Fear of things getting worse. I mean, the fact you're holding down a job, Beth. The fact you are holding down a job is incredible. My own health needs on top of working full time, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. I don't know where to channel my energy. We're going to do priorities. Priorities audit is day day 4. Okay, so today is barriers audit. We have identified and we have spoken about and we have named why it's difficult and what our barriers are. This is the hardest bit, and this is the bit that is probably the most depressing. I don't know where to channel my energy. We need to prioritize mental health over education, but nobody understands and most support isn't appropriate. So you probably now need a little lie down in a dark room. You may have a piece of paper that has a list of your barriers on it under the different headings. Let me recap for you. Your barriers are school and education, social engagement and community access, health services, mental health support, and support for you. What are the barriers under each of those headings that you can identify? What is stopping you or your family or your child or young person accessing these things in a way that feels right for them or is right for them? Okay. Is it that school don't understand your child's presentation, diagnosis, difficulties, challenges, differences? Is it that your child is unable to leave the home? Is it that you don't have access to a vehicle to take them places? Is it that you don't have the finances to do that? Is it that accessing settings where there are health professionals is difficult and challenging for you or your family for whatever reason? Is it that you are on waiting lists and you're struggling to get access to mental health support for your child or young person? Is it that the support for you is not in place? You're feeling very alone. Here's my cup of tea being delivered by my lovely waiter. Thank you. Have the bill when you've got a minute, thanks. Is it that you don't have the right support in place for you personally? Do you feel alone? Do you feel isolated? Okay, so I'm going to go and post in the group, and I'm going to put these headers in. If you want to share in the group on that thread, you can. There's no expectation to do so. It's not a requirement, but some of us need that to be able to process. Okay, so if that is helpful to you and you want to do that, then your task today is to share that in the group on the thread that I'll start. Just let me start one thread and we'll just put all our stuff in there together. If nothing else, I hope that this part will help you realize that your struggles are not because you are a terrible human being or a rubbish parent, and that they are shared experiences for many of us, because we are fighting against a system that follows the medical model of disability, and we have a lot stacked against us when we are advocating for our children and young people. So I hope that has given you a good starter for 10. I really, really hope this hasn't made you feel even worse. If it has, get in my group and let us help you with that. Lean in. Okay. I'm going to read some more bits, just comments. But if you want to leave me, you can. And then I'm going to be back here tomorrow morning at 10:30 to do day 2. So if you're on my mailing list, you'll get a replay of this and a prompt. If you're in my group, you'll get a prompt over there as well. Beth says, everyone thinks he's doing fine except for me, so no one is taking his needs seriously as we deserve. Jane says, Cam's shutting down. No family here, single parent, 3 young adults with very complex needs, full-time carer to 2 of them. I have fibro due to prolonged exposure to extreme stress. Hi. According to rheumatologist, and a recent diagnosis of complex PTSD with 0 time to look after myself. I hear you. I've had to stop working because I can't do both, procrastinating because I just feel overwhelmed. Yes, very real stress response, that flop response, that freeze response. They don't know the legislation and think it's okay to not follow it and justify it saying they have a senior position. Yeah. Others, I don't think I deserve help. I think I'm just making excuses, thinking I'm autistic and ADHD too. Wow. How's that working out for you, my love? We will do a lot of work together in the coming weeks and months if you work with me on how to get better at not being so unpleasant and unkind to yourself. And that's not me telling you off. That's me coming from a place of, my God, I was there for a long time. The DSM, I read the DSM-5, so I can tell health services what their own pathways are, but I can't keep reading every manual available, even though I have ADHD. Yeah. I'm exhausted. I hear you. I feel like I've hit the bottom and I'm on my own. I've been in bed for days. I wonder if I'm burnt out after 18 months of this stuff, or my son having burnout and still not moving forward. Very, very likely. The gaslighting, learning that people who are supposed to help, especially CAMs, make everything much worse, so much rage. The anger is really hard to deal with, right? Too many hoops to jump through and tick box exercises. Get through one hurdle to be faced with 10 more. Yeah. Single parent, full-time carer of 2 children out of school, been through all the accusations, too afraid to ask social services for respite now, and I don't trust anyone. I think that's a really common experience for people who've had those accusations levelled at them. Don't trust myself. I research, and then professionals say I'm wrong, right? I then doubt myself instead of thinking they're lying when they normally are. Finances are a huge barrier and needing to go to work. The system is broken, underfunded, good staff leaving because they're just too stressed. They're just as stressed as us. I had an email yesterday from someone who used to work in the school that Theo had a managed move to, saying that she'd found my stuff online. She's now left the education sector. She was Theo's key worker when he had the managed move, and she was told by other members of staff to leave it to more senior members of staff. She could see how much he was struggling, and she felt awful that she couldn't do anything for him. And she's so glad to see that he's like making progress now. But that's a story across the board within the education sector. Our educators are just as pissed off as we are. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Zero accountability, and I can't force them to pay the bill. Feels a very lonely place to be. Online groups are good, but they can't replace face-to-face with people who understand what's going on. Sit tight with me. I've got something coming for you in the autumn that I think might help you with that. It's just a minefield. We've plodded on through and getting there thanks to pages like yours. Recognising my own neurodivergence and own needs. 4 neurodivergent kids, caring responsibilities for my dad and a husband with secondary cancer. And then when you do get access to someone, it's all, oh, it must be so hard. And I want to scream at them and tell them if you did your job better, it would be easier. Thank you for holding this space. Yeah, I know. Look, we just have to, we don't have to. We have to take each other, we have to take care of each other, right? So we'll do our best together. I'm not promising you miracles. I'm giving you what I can give you, and I'm hoping that it will be helpful to you. And if it's not, then it was nice to spend some time with you this morning. But I will be here for people who haven't read the book. You need to. You will not feel so alone after reading it. So I'm going to send this out. If you're not already on the mailing list, go to the mailing list link at the top of the post, and make sure that you sign up, and then you will get these replays and prompts. Get yourself over into my Facebook group if you're not already. Just search EOTAS Matters and it will come up in groups. And we will be together tomorrow. But I hope that at least you've got a barriers audit. And I'm sorry that it was tricky this morning. And stick with me. We've got 5 days, and I promise that by the end of day 5, you'll at least have some semblance of, I mean, if nothing else, you'll have loads of bits of paper that you can lose with writing on that you won't understand in 2 weeks' time. It's a different brain activity, right? So call it brain rest. Okay, let's have a stretch. Let me give you a polyvagal reset before we go. You look straight ahead with your eye, with your face. Bring your eye. What you're going to do is you're going to reset your vagus nerve. So you're going to bring your eyes all the way across as far as you can to the right-hand side. Keeping looking all the way across the right-hand side, turn your head to the left. And it might make you yawn. Back to the middle. Same again on the other side. Face facing forwards. Bring your eyes all the way to the left. Might be your right, but it's my left. Keeping looking left. Bring your face all the way across the right. Look left as far as you can. And there we go. Doesn't work for everyone, but for those of us it does. That's it. Your vagus nerve is reset. Fixed. Mailing list is on the top of the post. If you go up to the top of the post, you'll find it there. Okay, my loves. I will see you tomorrow at 10:30 for day 2. Tomorrow we are looking at needs. Okay, I'll see you then. Bye.